Welcome to the Radical Responsibility Revolution podcast. This is where we are transforming lives, inspiring you to reclaim your health, your wealth, and the power of your mind. Here we share actionable insights, inviting you to turn inwards and design your life of purpose and abundance. Welcome back to another episode of Radical Responsibility Revolution. Today's guest is a woman after my own feminine, flowing, radically responsible heart. Michelle DeKeyser is the founder of Connecting Mamas, and don't let that fool you, ladies, because we're all mamas. It's a movement bringing women back to the ancient wisdom of women's circles, and I can't wait to talk about that because it's so close to my heart. That we can live by rhythm instead of burnout. And in 2020, she's going to tell us this story, but just to give you a little tease, while homeschooling during cancer crises in her own family, Michelle said yes to her own leadership. And she finished this thing called 75 Hard, which when you hear about it, I was going, what is that? But she dove into her own radical responsibility. And then she started gathering moms together that weren't part of the complaint club. Anybody been in that one? But since she's been hosting these powerful circles, she's actually creating community and modeling what it looks like to create a life that honors intuition, values, and seasons. And because life loves a plot twist, her family is about to move to Vietnam. So we'll dive into that too. This is proof that expansion and motherhood can coexist. And when you design it on purpose, we're talking feminine leadership, belonging without the people pleasing. Ugh, and how circles heal what hustle can't. So buckle up, my beauties. This one's juicy. And welcome, Michelle. I'm so excited to dive into these topics with you. And I always start the podcast by asking you where you are at this moment in your life, because we will talk about all of the dragons that have shown up in your valleys and brought you here. But where are you in this moment in your life? What is happening? How are you showing up for other women?
Well, when you put what's happening, it's like my mind just went to like pure overwhelm as we have 2 months until we leave for Vietnam.
That's a good overwhelm.
That's a good overwhelm. But in the midst of that, it also allowed me, I just had gotten back in September from a Divas retreat in Cancun. And in that, I led an in-person circle where it led me to just slow down and simplify what I was doing with the Mama Genius Hub right now in terms of really focusing on what was the core for me, which is the women's circle, and really knowing that is enough. For a while, at first, that's how I started, was through the circles and stuff. And then I started adding on the learnings and all these things. And it became so much to put it all together that I was like, right now where I'm at in this place, it's time to simplify. And I think we all need that, is that space just to come and be. When I look at the other memberships and things that are offered, it is always about the doing and the learning and the things. And this is what I wanted to create, was a place to be and process the doings and learnings that you already have. And how do we know what our next step is forward through that intuition and that thought process that only comes when we gather with like-minded women? Because let's face it, we have a tendency to doubt ourselves. I don't know, I've been there a lot. And when you tell people who aren't in the right mind frame, the doubt only grows bigger.
Yeah.
And so when you come into a place where everyone's trying to uplift themselves, the world, change paradigms, do all these things, it creates such a different dynamic to, I can do this because I don't have to do it alone. It takes the weight off the shoulders.
Yeah. Oh, so much to unpack there. And to just bring it back once again, there's a lot to unpack, and I want to bring it back clearly to what your vision is, and that's the circles. And so when I start these podcasts, I always like to share with the listeners, here's a small measurable action that you can take, which are your free circles. So tell right now, just so that everybody that says, oh, I listen to podcasts for 5 minutes and then I jump off, I want them, the show notes will have the link, but tell them about these free, beautiful circles that they can join once a month, twice a month, however that works for them. But just share a little bit about that so we can have that action point for somebody to begin this process.
So for me, it was all about the vision and jumping into belonging and in person, and my body, we'll get to that story later. But so what I wanted to do was really create a virtual space you can take with you anywhere. And so these virtual circles, we offer them 2 times a month for people to check out. The second Sunday of the month and the fourth Friday in the morning. Basically, the point is to come together to show up wherever you're at. And especially because I know a lot of moms and in different places, there are some circle leaders who like, you have to be here for this amount of time and so rigid about it. And that's perfect, whatever works for them. But for me, is you come into the circle to get medicine. Whatever you needed in that moment. Sometimes it's just silence. Sometimes it's just listening to what other people have to share, what other people are going through. And that might spark you to share something from your heart. It might not. Silence is always beautiful as well. So this is what I want to offer is 1 hour space, because I know our time is limited, but it's a space to be. And in Zoom, there's a different way of doing it where we actually can get visually into a circle. And it's so amazing that the feel of it. And then when I hit the change it back to the boxes, you can feel the difference of just what happens. And so for me, it's about the experience of offering the space for women to process what's happening all around you. And then to take that moment to pause and say, I can do this. This is what my next step is because I listened to what's actually here. I had a moment to pause. And we keep thinking it's more about the checklist and the do's and do's.
Yeah.
But how do you know what the next do should be if we don't take the time to process? I don't know about you. I have one member who says, the only time that I journal is when I sit in circle because it allows us for that space to be, and you're setting that yourself up for that time and saying, this is that time and I'm going to do it in community. We as women were always meant to do things in community.
Yeah. So just as a testimonial, I have been on your circles and I can't even explain to you, and I'm not going to even ask her to show it on this podcast because you have to experience it. And I didn't even know Zoom had that capability. So you literally feel like you're in a circle. I want to touch on a couple of things that you said, which is medicine. So I've been in a lot of plant medicine circles and medicine in general. Life is full of medicine for us, and we just ignore it. We're always looking to a pharmaceutical medicine of some kind. But this medicine comes in these beautiful forms called meditation and circles and beingness and letting all of the doingness go. And I love that so much. So talk about your ideas about medicine, because I just shared a little bit of mine, but I think it's important for women to understand what is medicine for them, not the conventional medicine, but the spiritual, the emotional connection to ourselves and to our consciousness that we can explore in our lives. Because people, I think they hear that and they don't, some people don't even know what I'm talking about. So tell a little bit about what your version of that medicine is, that emotional healing medicine.
Well, the very short answer that I'm going to elaborate on, it's a place where you can actually feel like you can breathe. Because usually we're so busy running, and the word busy, right? We're usually hiding behind the word busy, do, and like you can feel the tension in you. But for me, when you think about medicine, it's something that allows you just to go, it allows you to exhale and a moment to pause to actually reflect. Because I'm going to say, like, I'm not necessarily the best at reflecting unless I put myself in situations that call for it. And so that's what this is about, is putting yourself in situations that allow you the time to do it. We always say we don't have enough time. We all have the same amount of time. And it really, time does start to slow down more when you're putting intention into the things you're doing. So the medicine allows you to figure out, what is it that I need to exhale right now? What is it that I need in this moment in time? Because society, because of the pressures, because of the dues, because of all the kids' activities, because of whatever it is, the business, it doesn't matter what it is. It's running at you 24/7, right? This allows you to say, well, what from everything that's running at me is what I should focus on? Because when we put our intention into things that really move our souls forward, that's when the magic happens. And that's where the medicine comes in, is really finding that place to do it and to realize what that is. And whatever that it could be for you, it could be breath work, it could be meditation, it could be yoga, it could be anything that allows you to slow down. I found for me, I do it better in community. I do it better when I have accountability. I do better when other people are in front of me. That's just the way I work. And so that's why I want to create this type of atmosphere that allows for that, because it works for me. I will tell you, when I first started circles, my thought process was a group of 5 women, 5 moms who would be all for each other. We do play dates together, we do family events together, we do circle together, we do all these things. And I actually created it. I had 4 other people in my own personal circle. We just try it out kind of thing. What I learned for me was that my body almost rejected it. Think about jumping into a swimming pool not knowing how to swim. That's how I felt like I couldn't breathe. And got very quickly down the comparison route. I don't know if you've been in a Facebook message where you start comparing who's saying what to whatever, who each other.
So
And
where?
where, right? I found myself in that, and my body was literally like so anxious. I couldn't breathe. Literally, you can't breathe. So then, long story short, I ended up pulling myself out of that group. I think to this day, a lot of them are still friends to this day, and that was years ago. I pulled myself out because I realized that wasn't right for me at the time. And that's actually what led me to do more virtual, because as women, we have separated ourselves in our little houses. We've separated ourselves in our cars, literally
Mhm.
our little boxes on Zoom, right?
Mhm.
We've sectioned ourselves off that for a lot of us, we crave it because it's in our nature to belong, to be gatherers, right? We were like gatherers. We did things in together. Yet at the same time we crave it, we don't necessarily know how to act upon it. And so
Mhm.
the circle that I wanted to create allows for the starting points of learning how to listen again to each other, how to speak from your heart, how to really witness someone else so that you can start the baby steps of, I can breathe and it's okay to speak my mind. No one did anything. And then it allows you to do it more outside, allows you to be more present with your family, with your kids, with your friends, because you're literally changing brain waves in your brain to realize, yes, I can belong, I can do this. But it's a smaller process of starting to remove the layers instead of like just ripping the swimsuit off. And that's what I did when I jumped into the deep end, thinking that's what I really, really wanted. And a lot of what we think we want, it's sometimes too much if we go too fast.
Yeah. When we first started talking about circles being the feminine energy that we as women have been missing because we live on a planet that for about the last 2,500 years has been in a masculine construct, which is nothing wrong with masculine, but it's not balanced. Even the idea, masterminds are a big thing, especially in
Yeah.
business and such. I remember years ago when I was in this organization called S Factor, Sheila Kelly, she would talk about how we as women in our prehistoric days, that we sat around in a circle, literally on a campfire. We were there taking care of each other's kids. We were supporting each other. And it was very congruent. The men, not to separate the genders, were out doing the doingness. And we were actually supporting each other to the point where we could hear other members of our tribes, kids talking and crying. We were very attuned to that. When you talk about circles coming from this newer place in modern day world, that those are our ability, not just for
Yes.
moms, but for women to connect in this circular way. I want you to talk about how you have learned and morphed and got this intuitive download. Intuition is a feminine aspect of this thing called circles. It's so clear that that's one of the missing energies for women today, how that even downloaded to you. I want to hear about that story of how you even came to that.
I'll take you back to since you've already announced it that we would talk about it, the homeschooling and the Heart 75. So
Yeah.
September 1st of 2020, when I decided that both my father and my brother-in-law had canceled time, we had no idea what COVID meant. And the kids' school had actually offered summer school virtually to see what it was like. And being a former teacher, I was like, oh my God, I was going to pull my hair out. Like, I'm not going to be a babysitter and have them in the house all day virtually. So I literally pulled them from school and so decided that we were going to homeschool. And at the same time, I'm like, well, I felt like I was such in a brain fog. Like, what can I do? And actually, one of my son's teachers had just posted that she had done the 75 hard. And so, literally, within not even knowing what I was getting myself into, within a week, I decided that I was going to do both. And so, the 75 hard is a program by Andy Fuseli. It's just a checkoff list of two 45-minute workouts. One has to be outdoors. You have to pick any diet, stick to it, drink a gallon of water. I'm trying to think what else. You have to read 10 pages of nonfiction of something that you want to
Mm-hmm.
learn, whatever it is, just to keep the learning.
Mm-hmm.
No sugar, and you have to take a picture every day just to see the progress, because then if you don't, these things are just to help you
Right.
do the progress and see everything. And so in the midst of all of that, I think it was actually in the middle, I don't know if it was, I ended up doing the full year where there's 3 more phases and 5-minute cold showers and yada yada other stuff too. But it was somewhere in that process I can actually remember doing a visualization or meditation, sitting on a stool on this on the kids' stool in the kitchen. I don't know why, but it's on their little blue stool. And I was saying, I don't know if I was hiding from them or what, but I literally got this download of women just sitting in a circle.
Mm,
Honestly, at that point, didn't even know women's circles were a thing. Like I didn't had any clue to how much was going on outside. I just visualized it, and that's what led me into that first in-person idea of women circling together and just being in a circle and sharing their thoughts and stuff. I had no idea. And so after that, we sent the kids back to school after that first year. But it was must have been the following summer. My I Dr. Bowling is one of the women who wrote a book called The Million Circle, and so in there she has the metaphorical number of 1 million, which when we have enough women metaphorically doing this many circles, that's when the paradigm shifts to the feminine, and we have more understanding of all of this. Well, in there, I was just saying, what is Dr. Bowling up to? I went to her website one day, literally a month before she was going to be in Chicago, 90 minutes from my house, at the World
mm,
Parliament of Religion. And so literally it was a month. And I was like, oh, I don't know if my husband will let me go. Maybe I can at least just go for the first day because she's doing this one talk I saw. And then I talked to my mom, and my mom's like, I want to go. And so she flew out from Seattle and she ended up paying for the whole thing. And the two of us spent the week in Chicago. Now, it's funny that we're having this conversation today because of last night. So at the World Religion Parliament, what they had done was they turned the bottom floor into a women's village,
wow.
literally with a tree growing in the middle of it. They turned one of the rooms into the red room, which was a red tent. So there were circles all day long, different people leading in them, and I really learned in person what the values of circles were. One of those leaders is Sandy Hart, who invited me last night. They are doing the new future paradigm of women, and they are launching they're taking that idea of what they had created on for Parliament. They're going to be creating a separate one November of next year. And so
Mm,
she's put me and all of us coming together to really paint what this looks like. There's been four of them working together for the last 16 months since Parliament on designing this, and now they're bringing all the other women into it to really help foster it. But I just had no idea the shape of it. But everything they were saying is us coming together as women to really just help other women learn the process of how to be more intentional with
mm,
how they speak, how they do. And
mhm,
the intention is learned in this version of circle so that you can
mm,
take this, change the brain waves in circle to now do this. And the question came up, well, can the men come to this? And it's felt the same way for me as well, is we're not taking the men with us, but we as women need to first feel the flame inside of us so that
yes.
we're then able to bring them. And that's the same thing I felt with connecting mamas. I actually explain always as a baby flame. Like women get these baby ideas that
Yes.
they can't be shared with the men till they're fires. And where do you grow that fire? You grow that
Yeah.
inside women's circles. And when it's ready, yes, we show it through example to our sons, to our husbands, to everyone, and they start to feel that from us. And then, yes, there are going to be circles for men. There are going to be those things, but
Mhm.
we need to start somewhere.
Yeah. We have to have our sacred space. Oh
Yes.
my gosh, there's so much in there. I can't even tell you. The thing that I loved about you about that 75 story is that you just took radical responsibility in the moment. And it wasn't, I have to go make 40 calls to get whatever it is that I want in life. The whole masculine paradigm of how to build a business and know your numbers. And if you make this many calls, you'll get that, whatever. That's not a feminine energy. There was very masculine activities. We have to be both. You're doing this, but your commitment to yourself is the underlying girding of what you did to me. You said, I am making this commitment. And then you did. And then you're sitting on a stool so that at that point, when you are so energized with your own self, your self worth, then the open space came so that you could get the download. And once you get the download and you know the vision, you don't have to know the how. It just started to unfold. That's what I want listeners to hear is the beauty of knowing your vision. It isn't the how, it isn't the necessarily what it looks like, but the feeling of these circles, of this beauty, of this congruency. And now look at where it is. I'm excited to interview you in a few months after you get to Vietnam because your life, when I hear these stories, that your trajectory is just magical. It's off the chart. It's going to be incredible. You're going to have such an impact on the globe. And it's just started with literally sitting on a child's stool. That's where the germination was. And so that's what I want people to hear is it isn't about the doingness. And you've already explained that. It's about the beingness. So how do we be more authentic? How do we be more of who we came here to be? Explain that energy. I talk about it all the time, but I just love hearing other people's explanation of it.
Well, I mean, it comes down to, again, the breath. What allows you to breathe? And if it's circles, great, come join more or start your own. And it doesn't even have to be mine. But the idea is really you can feel how tense you are when you're in the busyness of everything, and especially in motherhood or in the things and the do's. And I mean, I even look at the way we have with our kids with all the activities. And I'm going to tell you, I'm running to swim practice left and right. I'm going to tell you the story last night to help with the beingness. My daughter was talking to my husband about swim, and she didn't want to go. He wanted her to go, but then so whatever happened. And then she wanted to tell me more about it. And she started to say a few things, but I couldn't quite hear her. And then she just shut down. And so I was like, okay, let me just sit here, remind myself of my own circle principles. And I sat there in silence, like literally outside her room on the floor. And she starts playing her piano and just anything to annoy the heck out of me so I would leave. And I just sat there and the cat actually came, so at least I got to pat the cat while I wait. And I just waited long enough. She's like, fine, I'm just going to lay here on the floor. And as she lay on the floor, she finally started talking. And she started sharing all the things that she wanted to share because I just sat there patiently without questioning, without any of those things. And those were all things that I learned about from Circle, the silence of it. And a lot of times with moms, you want to jump on, ask more questions and to ask more things, and that shuts them down. So I just sat there. I'm like, I'm just let her try to annoy the heck out of me. And the irony to all of that was when she didn't go, she said she wanted to do yoga, which is mama's voodoo thing. So I found a swimming yoga for her, which she didn't do very much of. But because she wanted to do it, she's been writing a novel and she has not shared any of it with me and refuses to share any with it. She actually gave me chapter 1 last night on the promise that I will not share with another soul. And I said, I will not. I will not even give you feedback if you don't want me to. She's like, no, I want feedback, just not tonight. Like, whatever you want. And I think what it is learning to follow someone else's lead. And when we start to really hone that in and to learn to breathe and to be, it was more because the doing in me wanted to be like, oh, tell me more, or do this. Instead, I just sat and I waited. And sometimes it seems harder than it is to just be mama bear and pounce on and ask more questions.
Yes.
And so the being really comes in with being responsive to what the other person or what you need at that moment and learning to slow it down, because if I had just kept talking or if I kept, she probably would never have said a word.
Right. I that's so magical because we live in a time where the idea of parenting has just been so distorted. And referencing back what you're talking about is about the being, the doingness not only shows up in trying to fix something, but also in trying to avoid it. I have family members that have children that are all under 13 years old, and the go-to place is a screen.
Yeah.
It's like the pacifier of the 21st century. And yet it is this connection. This is our feminine energy. It's communication and connection. And communication doesn't have to be with words. It is our energetic connection. So I really love the idea that you can speak to moms about these experiences. But more importantly, when you speak to other moms with what you're talking about, have no idea, never experienced this as an idea because we're not taught this.
No.
What is the first step you could share with them today so that they can say, I could do that? I know you're a little bit longer, farther on the path than some of these women. They're like, yeah, that's nice, but it just makes me crazy. And they still stay in the vibratory. Oh, and we all know that feeling. We know it. If you have kids, you have the sucky boss, we get that clamped up feeling. And then we just don't know how to release it and relax into it, which nature has provided us tools, but we don't even know what they are. So, what do you say to these moms? I'd love to even play this for my family member and say, this is an idea that you might want to incorporate. All of those modalities are just opportunities to not look at what the truth is in the centering.
Well, Two things for answer to I want to just elaborate on first the response to your child, and then I'll do it for yourself. So for instance, when the child is screaming or when the child is doing those things and your tendency is to just jump on top of it and fix. So I will give an example of my younger one who will throw a tantrum like nobody's business. And so she'll be screaming in her bed, right? So I will just come back and forth. Won't sit there the entire time that she's screaming because that's just going to kick your nervous system as well, right?
Yep.
If she's in a safe space, obviously you want to make sure they're safe, but she's old enough that she's safe at that point. And I'll keep coming back in. And at points when it seems like she's ready, I'll sit on the edge of the bed. And again, I don't say anything. I wait for her to start speaking. And a lot of times we want to, what's wrong? What's this? What's that? And we stifle their words. And so, and a lot of times is when they pause, again, talking about that pause, you think that they're done, it's time to respond. No, keep your mouth shut longer. And, or if you have the tendency to want to fill the space, repeat what they've said. Like reiterate. Don't ask another question. Just make sure you're understanding. And then they know that they're being heard. Because if you have another question, then they're going to shut down and feel like it's going to be a different thing. So either just keep listening till they ask for something from you, or just reiterate what they've said so they feel that understanding, and then see those responses that happen after that, because that's where the magic comes in. Because usually by that point we've already squashed that because we said, well, what do you want me to do? Do you want me to talk to that parent? Do you want me to talk to that teacher? Do you want me to do this? And they're already like, they've gone into overload at that point. I mean, they haven't gone out of overload because we're on top of them asking them more. So you want to give them a chance to bring it down, and then 20 minutes later having maybe those conversations. Or a lot of times I'll ask, is there anything you want me to do? And a lot of times, nope, mom, I'm good, go. And that's a good sign because there's a book called The Anxious Generation. We are really creating an anxious generation because we're not allowing them the chance to problem solve for themselves. Like you said, we're putting the screens in front of them. They're not having the interaction of being able to go problem solve what's going on with that friend by themselves. We can't keep sheltering them so long that when we send them off to college, here, you're expected to do all these things, but they didn't get the coaching along the way. And so it's really about guiding them more than parenting them. Because we want to be listeners to them. And yes, of course, we want to step in when needed, but we step in probably 80% of the time that's not needed. And allowing them to feel comfortable in their own words and their own thoughts, because honestly, I'm not at school with them. I can't protect them over there. And if I'm not giving them tools to process what's happening, that's where all the bullying and everything comes in. I believe it was in The Anxious Generation that they were saying when they allowed more free play after school and they just stay in the corner, the bullying and the things would stop because they're learning those skills innately in how to respond to each other instead of always the adult over watching it and then feeling like I did something wrong. It's that learning that process. And then we wonder why people can't work together. Why they can't do a class project, why they can't interact with each other, why we as women feel like we're isolated because we never really had the chance to integrate with each other in a way that actually feels safe. We have the mean girls. And us as women, I think most of us have felt that way, whereas, oh, I can't trust women because either you had some bad experience with a man fighting over a man, you had some experience because the mean girls made fun of you, or whatever it is. And so when it comes to the idea of hearing women, so you're like, I don't want to be with women. I don't like women. And that's where we lose a lot because I felt that way too. And then we lose that beauty because the beauty of women who come together with a purpose to make this world better, there's nothing like it when we're in this space together. And that's where the uplifting comes in.
So
I answered that question really long.
So juicy and delicious, because I believe that we do live in this world where we're anxious over silence. And so that only perpetuates the anxiety even more. And I recommend that. I haven't even read that book, but I'm going to go get it because this anxious generation, we are creating this world of anxiety, not just for ourselves, but for our children, and to begin to think about how to release that and become more present. And it's funny, as you're talking, I'm thinking of Cesar Millan. He's the dog whisperer. And I don't have a dog. I have no desire to have a dog, but I would always watch that show because he talks about energy. And it is simply that energy, much like what you were sharing about sitting outside your daughter's door. He will come up to a dog that's aggressive and just be present, hold that energy, that powerful, what he calls pack leader energy. And that's what our kids need. They need us to feel secure, not berating, because I know we don't think we're berating when we're asking these questions. We're trying to fix it, but that isn't the modality that they're needing. So, all of the women that are out there that are moms that are hearing this going, I have to work with that woman. How could they do that? Because I think this is brilliant. And I know that I don't, my, my, what I want to say, my ideal demographic is not moms. I don't have kids and I'm past the mom state, but I know that you have such beautiful wisdom. So how would they work with you if somebody said, hey, I want her as my coach?
Well, first of all, I want to just clarify for me, like you were saying before, mama for me is also the bigger version for me is archetype. So it's any woman that really wants to birth something into the world, but mom specifically, yeah, wanting to work with that. Again, for me right now, the first step is really just coming to a women's circle to see if that's a right fit for you. And that's why I want to offer them twice a month for free. And then we offer them 3 times a week for members. And so my whole process is really for us to do that. And because of Vietnam and stuff, I've kind of simplified what I'm offering at the moment, but that will change as things get more stable. But right now it is, and it really is about the circling for me. It's really about coming into that space and saying, I'm carving out this time for me. And so when I was doing what I was creating before, and I will come back to creating the Mama Genius Hub, which is bite-sized pieces for moms of 15 minutes or less. So it's a 1 to 5 minute video with 10 minutes of implementation in mom time, thinking that working with the idea that we do feel that busyness. And when we say 15 minutes, yes, we can do that. And when I say circle, I'm like, it's 1 hour. Yet I do feel moms, when you carve that time into it, it will allow for more time throughout your day. And so that's where it is right now. I do want to circle back one thing because I forgot, because you asked me, gave the advice for the kids, but I never gave the advice for the mom on what they could do to step into it. And really, again, come back to the word breath. What allows you to breathe? So is it taking a 5 minute walk out into nature? And that was actually one of the things we were creating in the hub is what happens when when you hit the fan and you have to shut the bathroom doors. We were actually doing, a lot of the creators were creating videos of breath work, meditation, things that can be done in 1 or 2 minutes. Because the idea is really to just what you are feeling like this at this moment. It's a feeling. It will pass. But again, like you were saying, when we hold it on and we don't allow it to pass through us, when it sticks in our body, that's where where it builds up. But when we allow it to pass, and we allow it to pass by finding what allows us to breathe. I'm telling you, this week has been really hard for me, stressful with my husband, all those things. I've been finding myself just holding right here and breathing through those moments when I just want to punch something or do those things, because it's going to happen. And it's really just you want to get those thoughts out of your head. Oh, I got to pick up my pickle jar. Here's my pickle jar.
Oh,
So you picture yourself, this is your brain, right? This is you looking inside your brain. You are inside your pickle jar. You cannot get out of it. We're all in our own inside brain. This is my reasoning about why we need coaches as well, because you're in your own little pickle jar. Now, the only thing that you're able to read inside the pickle jar is the back of the label. And we know all the negative things are on the back of the label, the nutrition, the things that aren't good for you, all that stuff is on the negative side, right? However, the positive pickle side is a side that Debbie can read for me and I can read for her, and we can help each other see that and to start to believe it. But honestly, we are programmed to be more negative. Like, we cannot necessarily always read that by ourselves. And then we beat ourselves up because, oh, I didn't journal today, or I didn't do this, or I didn't do that. But it's because we're in our own pickle jar. And so for me, sometimes I'm in my own pickle jar, and yet I can see it for a client, or I can see it for another person in the hub, and this is what you need to look at, and I can do that for them. But for myself, I need that outside perspective too. And we all do. And that is really the key, is to really learn who is that. It doesn't necessarily have to be a coach, but finding a good friend or someone or a therapist or whoever it is that can do that for you and help you see that. And I don't recommend it being your spouse.
No.
But I recommend finding, and especially as women, I recommend finding the women that actually light you up and help you see that positive pickle side, because literally when you really see the visualization, you
Yeah.
cannot do it by yourself. You can't. We were
Yep.
never meant to.
I love it because during the last circle, this is what I wrote down. Inside your pickle jar, I can't see my own label. Literally, I write down like those nuggets. That was such a nugget during that circle. And I could visualize it, but visualizing it with the jar that you just showed, it's so true. And there is an exercise that is similar to what you're talking about, asking our trusted friends, what are the qualities, the 5 qualities that you see in me? Because we don't, we see ourselves however we see ourselves. They may say something that we don't perceive as positive, but mostly they're going to share those positive things. And those are how we are showing up in the world. It's brilliant to be able to look at other people's version of us, not so that we shame ourselves, not that we change who we are, but just see what other people see. I love that so much that we can't see our own label. It meant so much to me, and I wanted to share that. This was not planned, by the way. She just said it and I wrote it, and it's such
But
a
it's so
beautiful metaphor.
true.
It
And
is.
I
It's
remind
beautiful.
myself this because honestly, this week has been pretty dark for me. But I've been reminding myself or reaching out, which is not always easy. But when you create those deep relationships, I have one message text thread with a friend that's just going back and forth because we've shared so much. And when you're in those dark spaces, it gives you someone to share that with because they're going to happen. I mean, it's life, right? Like there is no end of the journey or any of the, we're always going through cycles. We're always going up and down, up and down. That is human nature. The question is, are you learning from that and going up a little bit further each time?
Right.
And how do you feel joy in that? What are the things you like doing? And if you are giving so much to your kids and stuff that you have no idea what, and sometimes I can't answer that question in time, but I remind myself, what is that? And look for that and join things like the group I did last night where we're creating a new paradigm or things like that that uplift you. And it's really about finding the right people. Because like I said, well, we talked about the
Yeah.
complaint fest before. When I've been in moms groups before, I would just find myself at a table. I can remember being at a yellow table at a Bible study and literally going around complaining about husband or child. And then I was racking my brain. I didn't have anything I wanted to say, but my brain just automatically started racking it. Same thing I found at book clubs and things is no one read the book. There's like 2 of us that read the book. Everyone else just wanted to drink and complain. And
Mm.
I found when I was in those situations, my brain would do the same thing, be searching for those complaints that I didn't necessarily feel at the time until I was in that situation. And so it really is about the people you put yourself around. If
Yes.
you in when that's why I want to create the circle is people who want to uplift, people who
Yes.
want to make the difference. Now the problem also is when you feel that calling and you call and you take it on, all of a sudden it feels really heavy because
Mm.
the plight of what it could be just feels like so overwhelming until you share that feeling with others and realize that you're there to uplift each other. This isn't the scarcity of one person at the top. That's why I love Circle All too, is we are all leaders in the chair. I'm
Yes.
the
Mhm.
facilitator, but each one of us has something to give to this
Right.
circle that they're in at this moment. There isn't anyone in
Yeah.
front of the room, the masculine teacher in front of the room teaching,
Right.
and then you're supposed to process and disperse on your whole thing. The whole point is that the facilitator leads with something, gives you something to think about, and then you process together. And that is such a different notion than the expert in the front of the room that we all have to listen to and
Hmm.
take notes from.
Hmm.
And then how often do you look back at your notes or how much do you remember? But when you start to share your heart to what you're saying and processing from it, that goes with you the rest of the day.
Yes. Yes. That's a very big download. And I love the idea that we, as women, we have been given the paradigm: go get married, have kids. And today it's like work outside of the home. And then we go into these jobs where these boxes. And then these boxes, we feel like we have to make a choice between our family and our box. And the fact of the matter is, that's why I am so about mompreneurs, women entrepreneurs, whatever version you want to call that, because we have that talent already within us to be an entrepreneur. So an entrepreneur can balance their own lives. People often say, well, I want to be an entrepreneur, so I have freedom. You can have that freedom in a lot of different aspects, and yet, if you're constantly putting yourself in the either or camp of I have to choose the box, I have to choose the family, you will always be at disparity with yourself. So talk to me about you feeling that call to be an entrepreneur. You're sharing from space. And yes, there is an exchange of money, which is just a symbol since I talk about abundance in it, but it's given to us because we are holding ourselves in that space of worthiness. So talk to women who may be thinking about, I am a mom and I'm having to make this choice and I really would like to be at home. What is the alternative? There's not an either or, it's an and there is the option of entrepreneurship. So talk about it from that space for women, especially that are trying to make a choice between family and work.
Well, I want to circle back to the word freedom as I answer that. And what is freedom? Freedom is freedom of time.
Yeah,
We can
exactly.
never, that is the only thing that we can never get back. And so I get stressed out when all my husband wants to do is DIY it, because I'm like, well, great. You can use all your time to do that because you're not wanting to spend on paying someone else to do it, or you can get some of that time and do something else with your time. So that's the way to really think about freedom, is what do you want to do with your time?
Mhm.
Do you want to spend it driving from place to place with your kids? How do you want to spend it? And that's where the freedom really comes in. So for me, it was really about how I'm a former teacher. I taught in California. When we moved to Wisconsin, I ended up teaching for 6 months in MPS, got a job January and June. And I realized that I was making about as much as I was spending in daycare. And then I realized, do I really want to do that? Or would I rather stay home with the kids? One of the reasons we moved from California to Wisconsin was because it was cheaper cost of living. And so I ended up choosing to stay because I'd rather spend my time being with them than in the classroom with all the politics and everything. And I have not chosen to go. Then fast forward to the story of COVID and all of that led me to go down the entrepreneur route. And honestly, I don't have any entrepreneurs around me. There's one cousin on my husband's side that's also an entrepreneur. But other than that, I have completely new. So it's almost like thinking about someone going to, like, the first one going to college in their family, right?
Yeah.
And so it's different than what everyone else does. And I swear his entire family are doctors or engineers. He's an engineer, his mom's an engineer, and half of his other cousins are doctors. And so coming into that crosshairs of what does that look like? And so for me, it was when I really think about it, and sometimes I feel like I'm not contributing enough because I'm not giving financially enough to the family by what I'm doing. Those thoughts come. Those
Yeah.
thoughts come into play. At the same time, I'm also looking. I'm the one who is able to adjust if someone needs to get picked up, or when the kids come home. I might be on a call, but I'm still home, and being able to be so much more flexible with all those things. And then the idea really is with the entrepreneurship is it's really about coming into community, because we can't do it alone. And the thing with entrepreneurship is everyone thinks that they have to do it by themselves. And then you have the male version where you get all the checklists. And that's where I merge circle with that in the feminine way. And my husband's always like, well, what's the differentiation between business and personal? And honestly, when we do business the feminine way, there's less differentiation than
That's
there
right.
is when we do it the
Mhm.
masculine way. And
Absolutely.
so some of my members are paying me are some of my best friends. And because it's about uplifting each of us. And
Mhm.
for me, part of it is also having an affiliate rate, that if someone brings in another member, they also get paid for it, because I want us to raise each other up. We do all need to feed our families. We all do need to survive in this world. That's the way money's set up. Yet it doesn't have to limit us.
Yep.
And so it's really about that idea of entrepreneurship in terms of really bringing it together and doing it together, though. And that's where, for me, the women's circle come in to weed out, well, what is my next step? Because I got this masculine checkoff list here, yet there's so
Mhm.
much on here that doesn't necessarily feel like it's something that is something I should do to move forward, but then I give myself that guilt for not doing it. And so that's why for me it's a combination of being able to combine those together for women as we do it a little bit differently. And it's okay. And it's leaning into that difference is because we as women do it in community. And I think
Yes.
even the men are starting to realize they can't do entrepreneurship alone. It's always about the networking. It's always about the
Mhm.
who's. It's not
Mhm.
about the how. It's
Yep.
about the who's that are going to help you to your next step.
Mhm.
And so it's whether it's a VA is your next who, or a partner that you can do a workshop with or something. It's about finding those people, and then you're not so worried about the how. How will
Yep.
come by the who's that you meet. And
That's
it's just
right.
putting yourself out there. And so that's really what entrepreneurship comes down, at least from the feminine side for me, is
Hmm.
really being able to do it together and finding ways to support each other. So making sure that people that I work with also have an affiliate rate. So if I want to promote them, you're helping each other because that's what it's about. It's like recommending your favorite restaurant because you really like it. It's not just a job. That's what it is for me.
Absolutely. And it's so important that this message is, well, it doesn't need to be heard because it will be heard. And it is happening as we speak. And I've been waiting my whole life for it to show up this way. And I want to speak to the idea of freedom is just time, because that really is, whenever I ask anybody, why do they want money? Right? Because I'm an abundance teacher. And then we drill it down, and it's the freedom of having time to do whatever you want. And so I want to use your husband as an example just for a minute so that women can hear this, because the thing that I learned, I don't even know how many decades ago, was there are things that are not my genius. I can do them. Absolutely. 100%. Number one, the first one that I ever learned was hire a housekeeper. My mother made me do the housekeeping for the four brothers and sisters in the family. I was like, I don't want to do that when I grow up. I can do it. But is it the best, highest use of my time? Does it free me up to do those things that are my genius? So is it hiring a housekeeper? Is it having somebody mow the lawn? Is it somebody doing the DIY project? Is it having somebody cook my food now? Because then I can do things that I love to do, even though I want to cook for fun, but not every day. So I want to talk about some of the ways that you have freed that up just for your own personal self, because it's so important for women to understand this concept. It isn't about the masculine construct of do, 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 do. We can all do. We've proven it. We are masters at it. We can, what do they say? Bring home the bacon and cook it up and whatever that song is. But we don't have to do the doingness that isn't our genius. So speak to that to women, just what the revelations that you've had in your own life that have allowed you to have more of that freedom of time.
Well, first, I want to speak to the word genius because it's Mama Genius Hub, right? It's
Yeah.
all about the genius. Because when we ask the question, first of all, what do you want to do? Most time is like, I don't know. And so I'm
Yeah.
going to lean back to the women's circle because if you don't know, it's a good place to discover what's in your heart. And so for me, it's really been in that process of taking the time to sit and have my coffee, right? Taking the time
Mhm.
to slow it down a bit and think. It's funny because there'll be times like, yes, I was talking to my husband about the things that I was doing for the move, right? And it was like, to me, it didn't feel like it took that much time. But to him, it felt like those were things that were taking up all my time. And he didn't know how much stuff I was doing or not doing. But it was because I was able to just process and ask the right people. I asked someone for help to get me another property manager, right? They were posting it for me, right? So it
Mhm.
was more about thinking about who can I ask to do one thing, right?
Mhm.
Because that's their genius. Like he works in that, and he was able to post something last night, and it sent me another one I talked this morning for half an hour. And so it's that process again coming down to the who's. Who can I ask for help? Who can I ask to just do this one thing? And it's not even a big deal. It's a small thing for them, but the time saving for you is immense. And the worst
Mhm.
part is for women, it's so hard half time to ask for help. Now, I don't know if you can see these right now, but I have two cuts in my hands.
Oh yeah.
So what had happened was my husband had set up the front yard to because we do trick or treating a little bit earlier, which we're going to another thing tonight, which is why I have the skeleton earrings in. And I wanted to be nice and take the canopy down for him. He was stuck in a swim meet. He was there all day, and I was just trying to be nice, right? I asked my son for help, and he was just like, I don't know how to do it. But if my husband had asked, it would be no problem because he knows he just has to do whatever he's telling him. So then he didn't come out to help me. So I got the canopy down and I turned it upside down, and the poles were up, and so I just unlocked them and they started to fall down. Well, the second one hit my hand on
Oh.
the way down. I did it again on the other hand.
Yeah.
And then I just felt so dumb for trying to, but I was just trying to be helpful and do something because I knew he was doing something else. Long story short was asking for help can be hard.
Yes.
And so even though he said no or whatever, he's, oh, I would have come and helped you. I would have come that. I still did it because that was just something that I wanted to do. It was how I wanted to spend my time. I wanted to do something nice. So just think about what do you actually want to do.
Mhm.
And so I know I can't go find all the property managers. I've done some searching and ChatGTP helps a lot with typing in any question. What should I do with the leftovers? What should I do with the leftovers in my refrigerator?
Yep.
And type in the leftovers. It will create a recipe for you. Like the little
Yep.
things that we don't even think that it can do for us, and that's all free, right? Or
Yep.
if you're doing a road trip, I'm going from here to here. What are all the stops? What are all the places I can do? And gives you choices that you can not have to do all this research anymore. And so it's
Mhm.
not that we're trying to dumb things down, it's that we're trying to take the things away that we don't enjoy doing. If you enjoy looking at all the places and don't give that as a
Yeah.
chat, do the things that you enjoy. But if that's not something you enjoy, start to find other resources to take those things off your plate. And that's how we get time resource back. That's the things I've done. I
Mm.
use ChatGPT a lot to just differentiate some of those things. And then finding right now, another example was I'm not very good at my books. I'm learning, right? So I was recording a session with a bookkeeper and she'll be able to use the videos for a course. I'm getting help in how to do my books because that's her genius. So I'm
Yep.
looking for people whose genius it is. Second thing is I'm making a video with my friend Elise, and we're doing a whole video series on how go high level for women and how to get your business set up on go high level. It's one of the best ones out there,
Hmm.
but it's not my genius. So I'm there to ask all the questions. She's helping
Yep.
me set it up all by video, and we're going to put this all on YouTube so other women can hear a woman's voice doing. Because every time I type in go high level, it's all men.
Oh, Lord, I know what you're talking about.
And so for me, it's finding those people that I can collaborate with, and it's a
Mhm.
win-win for both of us. And now we're creating products and things out of it with affiliate rates for both of us to whoever. Those are the types of things. Then it's fun
Yeah.
because we're doing it once a week for an hour. We're recording, we're doing some homework a little bit, but
Right.
we're doing it together. And I'm learning how to use Go High Level, which is something from her expertise. And so
Yeah.
that's how I get time back is through collaboration, a lot of it.
That is brilliant. I mean, seriously, just that little nugget. I hope people are listening to the end of the podcast because that right there is such a example of how to give yourself more time. And I love AI. Oh my gosh, I am the biggest AI fan. I've been using it since it came out and it's only gotten better. And I hear every day how women are using it. So a recipe of what to do with the stuff in the fridge, I haven't heard anybody say that, but that's brilliant to put on there how to do certain things. And I actually took a road trip where I found an AI bot thing that it planned this trip out for me and all these fantastic places. But we have these amazing tools that can give us back time. And to me, that I've been saying that since day one. AI gives us more time. That is
Yeah.
all it does. You can use it to build your life if you want, but the fact is we are authentic and that beingness is where we go for that. And then the doingness, it can help us plan that out. So brilliant, brilliant ideas. I'm so excited about sharing all those and especially the go high level. Go high level is I'm new to it too. And it has so many, oh my God, it's the capacity of go high level is amazing.
It's
So for those
insane,
that want to
but
start
it's
a business, go high level,
well, apparently I learned it's just actually high level
high
yesterday.
level. Yeah.
So
Oh,
the
oh,
ghost, they took the go away a while ago, but it's never stuck. So if you type
uh,
in go high level, everything comes up,
that's
but they're actually, it's so funny though, because I find myself, and they even use the acronym GHL, but it's
exactly.
just so funny. But it is an all-in-one that I just found, but it can be so overwhelming, the setup of it and all these things. And then as women, when we get into that overwhelm, we give up. Instead of feeling like you give up, look for a resource of someone who's in that genius. And that's why Lisa and I
Absolutely.
even wanted to do this video series was to be from a woman's perspective on this. And so if that's your genius of whatever it is, so like for Renee, for the bookkeeper, it was like, let me get some of her genius out by asking all the questions. She gets to show me her magic. And it was the funniest thing because like I was finding every issue in Wave that could, which is another bookkeeping program, that she'd never even thought of. She's like, wow, you are the best test case hero ever. But we got it recorded and she'll be able to use that later. And so it's finding ways to use each other's genius,
Mhm.
especially even if you don't have the money yet. There are still ways to collaborate and benefit. It is really looking at how can you both benefit from whatever you're doing. It doesn't
Yes.
necessarily
Yes.
have to be monetary, but that is the best use of getting your time back. And let me tell you, it is so much more fun going to record these videos than me trying to sit there watching the YouTube video and
Oh,
learn how Go High Level works.
Trust me, I know I'm going to go start doing that myself. The Zig Ziglar says you want to be successful, help somebody else being successful. That is
Exactly.
truly what you're saying, and that is so magical. The other thing is, you did just touch on it, but I want to share that with people, women especially, that there are so many different ways to make money. Like we think there's this one box, our money comes from our job, just over broke, and that's it. But there's side hustles, multiplicity of them. But I love the idea of you creating your own affiliates. That is, so I think I have to have you come back on so we can talk about some of those ideas, because that is so important for us to, especially as women, to get out of our finite minds and be more expansive, be curious, be creative, and actually just open up to the possibility that there's abundance everywhere. And we just have to be able and willing to receive it. So I am, go ahead.
That so just last night when we were talking about designing the new paradigm, right, of this, we were talking about how it needs to be new financial structure as well, how we need to get out of
Mhm.
this the scarcity mindset
Yeah,
and really own in supporting us as women. I mean, we as moms and stuff, we control a lot of the money, and
yeah,
yet we won't spend it on ourselves. Or we'll
yeah.
spend $300 to go get our hair done, but $300 on a coaching course? No.
Nope. Even $27. Like,
Even
nope.
27. And so it really comes down to what is it that you really want?
Yeah.
Great. If you want the haircut, great, go get that. But at the same time, if you're still there sitting there complaining about the same cycles, the same things, you need someone to help you see the pickle jar and to see
Yes.
what some of that stuff is. And again, yeah, I can't do that from a haircut.
Yeah. That's, oh, absolutely. I am, we just reached the hour, and I want to just thank you so much. And I want to invite you back because I think that there's so many things that we didn't explore. And I also want to learn about your time when you get to Vietnam. When are you leaving? 2 months?
So we should be leaving. I asked my husband last night, can we get plane tickets yet? And he's like, I think we can. You've been so overwhelmed, I haven't wanted to ask yet. We plan to
Oh,
leave right after Christmas because the school year starts, I believe, January 8th. So we want to give them at least a week or more to adapt to the time zone
yeah.
change before
Yeah.
throwing them into school.
I
So be
know
right around there.
in 3 months or so, you're going to have a new life. All of these things that are in the percolator, they're growing right now, are going to start to bloom. And I am so blessed that you said yes to coming on, because I think you just have so much wisdom to share with women, especially, and moms, whether we're moms of kids or me as I'm just birthing everything that ever happens in my life. It's beautiful and wonderful to be who we are as our authentic self. So I appreciate that. And I'll have all of your information in the show notes. You can go to her website. You can join the circles, which I highly recommend, since you'll be doing those consistently. And then ultimately, I think you are an amazing coach. So there's wisdom in that as well. So thank you again so much for
Thank you so much, Deb. It's
spending time with us. Yay.
been
Okay.
such an honor.